Welcome to the Dudes of Thread podcast. The Dudes of Thread podcast is here to open your mind when it comes to specialty embroidery, applique, patchwork, and multimedia. From ideation to design to sourcing, we want to help you help your customers elevate their merchandise.
We've done the research, made the mistakes, and are excited to share this nerdy fashion content. Join us as we decorate our way to creativity, one stitch at a time.
Welcome to the Dudes of Thread podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kramer. With me, as always, I have CEO and Creative Director of AMB3R Creative, Mr. Jeremy Picker. Jeremy, how is your Friday going?
It's good, man. Been looking forward to recording these podcasts. Man, it's been so hard to keep consistent, but again, we're gonna try to keep accountable to keep this up and give our audience some awesome embroidery tips.
Embroidery tips are good. I have been getting a lot of awesome feedback from your Picker Loves Prep. That has just been a really cool segment. So thank you all who reached out to let us know what that meant to you. It's been awesome gathering up all this old history and watching Jeremy collect it all. I mean, the guy's got just an amazing library of all these amazing pieces. So thanks again for reaching out. It really means a lot to us.
If this is your first time joining us, we are the Dudes of Thread. We talk about everything embroidery, applique, specialty decoration. And with me is decoration and development guru, Joe Kramer. Thanks for doing this with me, Joe, for our fourth episode. It's pretty dope.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Happy to be able to contribute. This is so much fun. I mean, I don't know what you think, Jeremy, but I can't say enough great things about the audience that we're building. They've been so supportive. I had a buddy of mine reached out, and my bass player Paul reached out and said, dude, you know, we had a 45-minute drive, and me and my buddy, who's got an embroidery machine, sitting in his basement, just dusty as heck, we listened to the entire thing all the way. And I just, you know, I love hearing that.
Yeah, and shout out to Nathan Lieber of Lieber Design over in Ohio.
Yeah.
He's been sharing our podcast on LinkedIn, and I know that you and him have a similar connection through the Abercrombie sources.
Yeah, we do. It's one of those fortunate, unfortunate things. That's
yeah, right.
But
you know each other, but not directly. So
yeah,
hopefully
not directly,
we'll get to know him and
exactly
appreciate him sharing the love.
Yep.
And
he went to work,
build an audience.
He went to work for a great company, ICS. Which was the brainchild of Mr. Bob Pouchet. Bob and I met, I think, for the first time in like early 2000s. And when I did my portfolio review for the Art Institute, I met Bob in Pittsburgh, actually, because he went to the same school. So we went to the Art Institute. So anyway, we had a blast when we first met, just catching up and discussing the apparel side of the challenges that he's having with Abercrombie. And to be quite honest, I mean, at the time, I mean, I've been, you know, SoCal born and raised, so I didn't know anything about, you know, any type of like Ivy League culture. It's just not part of, you know, the West Coast culture
at all.
No, none at all. And so I'm just like, why do you want me? I don't understand, you know. And then I get out there, you know, and it's just like, whoa, yeah, you guys need a lot of help. What you're trying to do needs a lot of help. So it was an honor. So yeah, thanks so much, Nathan, for reaching out, letting us know, you know, what it means to you as well. That's great. We love it.
Yeah, for sure. So Joe, you were telling me earlier about some embroidery facts that you came across. Would you mind sharing those with all of us to blow our mind when it comes to embroidery?
So I was thinking about some things that would just be awesome to share, and one of them was I found out that René Lacoste himself originally hand embroidered the crocodile on the polos, on his tennis polos when he first got started. And that's
insane.
So cool. In fact, you know what? I will put this up on the screen if I could find it, or I might dash to the mall this weekend and grab it. But this last holiday season, I remember seeing a polo, a Lacoste polo that had the evolution of all the crocodiles sewn on all the same left chest panel,
No
going
way.
all the way down And I was just, I hadn't really thought about it, but now that I'm thinking about it, like, man, I should have got one. I will tell you this though, because Lacoste polos are very classic, and I mean classic, meaning piqué, cotton piqué, is not at the top of my preferred fabrics to wear. I mean, nothing.
Especially in Phoenix, Arizona.
Especially in Phoenix, Arizona. But that, I think that was the one deterrent, was I felt the fabric and I was like, I don't know if I want to jump into that. But now that I'm talking about it, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show it because that is a really cool piece to show.
Hey, we have an embroidery podcast. It's a tax write-off, so
right.
We need good visuals to show the people of Dudes of Thread.
Exactly. So
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that all the humble beginnings of companies that would hand embroider. They had the old chain stitch machine, designing up, and it's like, how do you go from DIY to mass production? I'm sure it's a lot easier nowadays, but back then, I mean, that's just crazy how he was basically selling polos out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah.
And then, he blew it up to be one of the biggest kind of high-end preppy style companies in the world. So
yeah, I mean, origin stories are always so great. I mean, I got one more real quick here for you. This one I really dig. In fact, I'm gonna also campaign a little bit to show more back pocket denim on the show, because I think it's kind of like the redheaded stepchild of structured and functional embroidery, and I'll give you an example why right now.
Yeah.
Levi's, their iconic bat wing stitching on the back of the jeans used to serve a specific functional purpose, reinforcing the pocket corners. So not necessarily just decoration, is it actually used to form the specific structured purpose for those particular jeans. So I thought that was interesting because most of the time when Levi sues somebody, it's over the design of that back pocket.
Interesting.
Yes. And I have been subpoenaed.
That's
for
part
just
of the
thing.
IP, that IP of, obviously they can't IP denim, but just the stitching on the pocket or the shape of the pocket or the rivets is, it's a very
nice
group of lawyers.
Yeah, it's a very unknown, back of the room, nobody knows about it thing, but I'd say the majority of the stitch files that I created during my time at Abercrombie were all back pockets. I mean, tens of thousands of files for back pockets, because they all get graded and they all have different, sizes, and back pockets are specifically designed in the fashion world to make your butt either look bigger or smaller, or depending on what size you are. So there's a whole science behind it. That would have to be like 3 shows to get through all of it, because it's so crazy how much back pocket work is out there in fashion today.
And don't worry, we will not be the models to show the back pocket.
No.
You don't want to see anyways, we'll start
exactly. Exactly.
And
but go ahead, sorry.
When you talk about some of these back pockets, I'd love to bring in True Religion into some of those conversations, because they've kind of carved out their own style, maybe not necessarily the pocket shape, but the embroidery that goes on their pockets, really thick, multiple pass bean stitch. So maybe we'll bring some of that in, because I've wanted to talk about True Religion, and who did a recent collaboration with Blue Boy,
nice
artist out of Atlanta, and he has some really amazing insight and sketches, and teaming up with a big brand like that, them letting him kind of have his creative way with their jeans is pretty impressive. So I can't wait to share that.
Yeah, I love denim. If you're out there and you're trying to find some good stitch inspiration, please always go to denim first. Denim has some of the greatest motif stitches, where you basically just take a straight line and put something fancy on it and just let it run in that direction. And sometimes they're running in both directions, and sometimes it's a matter of the different layering of denim and what's inside the 2 layers, or like what's sandwiched in between the 2 layers, that makes the wash do something so magical. So if you're looking for inspiration and you're only looking for tops, know that bottoms are also a great way to look for inspiration.
Yeah, because I feel like bottoms are a rarity in our custom merch industry. You know, I know a lot of suppliers offer pants, like AS Color's been doing a great job with their work pants and chino twills and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're not selling bottoms, which is interesting. I think maybe because denim's so complex that none of us want to deal with developing denim for other people, because there's so many brands already, and I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be customized.
Right.
But I think there might be some opportunity, at least for some type of decoration add-ons to denim within the industry. Instead of just workwear.
Denim is such a fingerprint, you know, from company to company. Each one has just a slightly different fit, feel, wash, trims. I mean, I've got some of the
thickness of fabric.
Oh yeah, I've the Abercrombie jeans that I still have that still fit me, you know, are button flies all the way down, and it's those certain, you just don't see that so much anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and they still are comfortable, but you know, then there's other jeans that I've got from other manufacturers. You know, I've got some good Luckies and some good various ones, and just, you know, as I think as we get older, the shapes are changing too. Like, you know, 20 years ago, the thought of the super skinny jeans was just, you know, what's that? And then 10 years ago, it's like you're not cool unless you have them. And now it's
you wear skinny jeans if it's hand-me-downs from like your older brother. That's like, or, you know, like your parents aren't buying it, so you're wearing it until it's turns into shorts.
Yeah, until it turns into your swimsuit, you know, or whatever. Yeah,
that's right.
And then you know, now I feel like the flares are coming back, and high waists been going huge the last like 7-8 years,
especially in the female market. For sure.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that we'd be seeing that again. I mean, the high waist flares and bell bottoms are before my time, so that's coming right back around again. So again, back pocket stitching, a lot of fun. Yeah, and I'll definitely be sharing that more and more on the show.
Yeah, and as we kind of grow this podcast and get a bigger audience and more engagement, you know, we'll start our own social media accounts. That way we can, you know, between episodes, we can be sharing some of this content that Joe and I are naturally talking about, and our team at Amber, you know, researching and doing development for our clients, having that in between that we can share and have those visuals throughout the week, because that, I think, will spark conversations and spark people in our audience asking questions or wanting to see more content on a specific subject. So right now we're just shotgunning it and seeing what sticks, seeing what people like, because again, we can talk about this for a normal amount of time.
Yeah, an exuberant amount of time, that's for sure. Yes. Speaking of, let's also let the folks at home know that we are interested in getting more submissions for the Level Up logo segment. We do have a few already, and we love it. And so to reiterate, what we're gonna do is we want your feedback. We want you to fill out the form. Let us know if you've got a logo in your repertoire, whether you're a distributor, whether you're an embroidery shop, you've got a logo that somebody's asked you to work on and you just feel like you're scratching your head, or maybe it's that same logo that's gotten a little stale and you want to turn it into something that's even better and really, really look like the rock star for your customer. Please, I'm gonna put the link here in the description. Click that link, it's gonna take you to our contact page and it'll let us know. We're gonna actually feature your logo on the show, and we're gonna actually do some work on it on the show.
Yeah, and I think we want to just help everyone, whether it's just you or your team, think beyond what the customer's giving you. A lot of times how we have grown at Amber is in between those projects, we're showing them that we're thinking about them. We're coming up with creative ideas that we might have found out through their website or social media channels, and using some of those pieces that we see, not the logo. Again, logo is foundation for a company, but the lifestyle merchandise is what people are going to want to wear outside of work and seeing the uniform. So even if you share with us some of the items that you've done in the past for them and link us, and we'll go check out their website, we'll check out their social media and come up with some of those ideas that you might be able to show them. Again, they might not do it this next order, but 6 months down the line when they have a more casual, let's say company party that they want to bring in something a little more creative than just their logo, you'll be there ready for it, making an order for your customer. So we're doing that on a daily basis, for people that come up to us and ask, but we want to kind of publicize this so we can show the public, our kind of process of how we develop these creative ideas for merchandise.
Yep. Great idea. We're excited to see your submissions. So don't hesitate. Submit your logo and, so we can get to work.
Yeah, we're ready.
Awesome.
So Joe and I were talking about the other day of just different thread types beyond just your normal embroidery thread. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about sewing thread, and there's a variety of different manufacturers that offer that, as well as Madeira has Burmilana, Amon has their Saba, and then there's a couple other brands out there. But while we were talking, Joe brought up one of his older pieces that he worked on, and it really opens your mind to what is possible with a corporate logo outside of just your basic, 30 weight or 30 tex or 27 weight thread, that's shiny and doesn't really fit a cotton shirt necessarily. So Joe, if you maybe want to bring up the piece that you did, and we can talk about it, and you can kind of share what your approach was when digitizing this.
Yeah, for sure. So this was I executed this when we were I was working at Sansegal, and we already had the Landry's accounts, so it's Bubba Gump and quite a few others. And I remember when Joe's came around, Joe's Crab Shack was always this fun, high energy place. And I feel like there was a Joe's Crab Shack like everywhere, during that time. And I remember that some of our show-stopping pieces, a lot of the developments I did for Sansegal, they may have not necessarily seen the light of day from a production standpoint, at least not all of them. But you bet they were the end cap featured pieces at all the trade shows, for a bit of a muscle flexing, exercise.
Yeah.
And so I remember that I was being challenged to basically just create the most luxurious things, that I could. And of course I said, well, have you guys thought about bringing in, because they already had, I had already taught them the whole Tex 30 and 40 thing, which wasn't a huge leap for them because they had cut and sew in-house. Because they had cut and sew in-house, going to grab a few cones of black, white, navy, red, things like that were, in the next department, just right next door. So it wasn't that bad. But when I brought this in, they're like, you're crazy. This can't sew, and again, it fulfills the prophecy of my proverbial career where everyone tells me I can't do something, and then I show them how it's done, and they're like, oh, this should be a standard now. I'm like, yeah, it should. But, it takes the right kind of machine to run this. They had several older Tajimas that couldn't run it. So this was run on the newer SWF machine. So its size is about 9 inches wide.
So full chest.
And yeah, it's a full chest, and it's right at like 8,200 stitches.
Wow.
So it's under 10,000. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now, keep in mind that when you're running big fat thread like this, you're only running it at like 600 RPM, 550, 600 tops. There are some machines out there that can go even more. I'm speaking for the machines that are 15 plus years old and need a little, need all the head start they can get, to run something like this. But so we brought this in. It does have wash away backing on it, so you don't feel anything but the soft Burmilana underside of your skin.
So it is Burmilana.
It is straight up Burmilana.
And what's the text on that?
So Burmilana text size would be right around text 77.
Oh, wow.
And to be more specific about it, text 77 under some tensile strength, a little bit of stress, and it at its relaxed stage, it's like almost text 80. So it's a little bit, and I'm speaking in terms of diameter. So you could actually get a little bit more diameter out of it just by it in its relaxed stage. So after the wash, it's more like text 80, but in production, it's like text 77.
That's crazy.
So it is definitely the most luxurious looking embroidery that there is. I've seen a lot of wonderful work, especially with like hand stitch, chain stitch machines, blind chain stitch machines on Etsy, YouTube. There's plenty of people out there that are showing this stuff off, and they're all using Burmilana thread in their chain stitch machines. It's beautiful work.
That's great.
Yeah, I wish.
So
that
can you tell us
somehow,
what type of stitches are these?
Okay, yeah. So the entire thing, for the most part, is satin stitches with a density of 1.2, and then of course the blue background of the arrow of the sign is a fill stitch, and I know that has. It looks like there's some coloring to that fill stitch.
Yeah, kind of variations of shade, right?
Correct, and those are melange colors that Madeira does offer. So there are some spools that have like 3 different fiber colors, in them. Probably more. I know that there's one where you can't even tell what color it is because it's just so random, but it looks kind of like blackish looking, which is a lot of fun when you're doing like a black on black or something, like that. So this particular piece, although fairly simple and punched fairly conservatively, there's really no like jagged satins or whip stitches or anything crazy here. It's still a bit of a showpiece just because, I think for the first time people are seeing a corporate logo done in such a non-conventional, setting.
Yeah, for sure. It's not your boring grandpa's embroidery, his satin stitches.
Even though yarn stitched fabric would be considered, more of like an old vintage type of decoration, but yes, it's just done with a machine instead.
So maybe my father,
not
my grandfather.
Yeah, there you go. Right? Yeah, that estranged uncle.
That's right.
That estranged creepy uncle. So there's that piece there that's always a lot of fun. And then thanks for those questions too. I always forget some of these.
Yeah, and I think again we sometimes take it for granted that getting down to the basics. Well, you have seen it 1,000 times. Some of these folks are seeing it for the first time, and really. And I will keep reiterating this, you don't have to do a whole lot of changes to the machine to accomplish this, right? Maybe with this thicker Burmilana, but even doing what you're doing with the sewing thread, you're going to get a way different look with not having to buy new equipment, or I know you suggest needles sometime, but being able to do similar things without having to buy new equipment. That's everyone's goal until they work their way up to being able to do all the specialty stuff. But I don't know. I never almost want to go back to normal embroidery thread, after dealing with a lot of this sewing thread. I know a lot of corporate, when you're dealing with a dry fit polo, or something that has more of a sheen, it makes sense. But for us, because we love the vintage, because we love the worn in, I think that's going to be our mojo moving forward.
Yep, exactly. And I think too that there's a very high perception of value, right, for the worn, basically the garment that gets touched a lot. If I could summarize that, is a garment that has, it's been enzyme washed or potassium washed, or it's been we've got some light-handed screen print, we got some heavy screen print, we have some emulations of it falling off, and just, I mean, you could just go and go and go with all the different techniques that are out there. I mean, the first few years I was with Abercrombie, I mean, the hand painting thing was off the charts. I mean, the artists would actually sit and put a shirt on the concrete and just like start flinging paint at it, and then they would take that and start scanning things in, you know, for decoration purposes, and then they would figure out if they want to take that and scan it in and turn it into an actual screen to screen print with, or if they wanted to send this off to the factory and say, we want to pay the extra money to have it look like we're slinging paint at the garment. You know,
that's amazing.
It's
and with that hand painting, I know this is more of a screen print thing, but is that where you would bring in the diffusion dither versus halftones?
Yeah, the diffusion dither was basically a threshold gateway to force the vendors to use the screen meshes and the soft techniques in which we had developed back at the home office. So it was difficult for them to take that information and either modify it or like taint it, if you will, for their purposes, because it happens a lot. I mean, I can't even tell how many times I've seen. I'll send a stitch file, and the company will go through it and rob all the structural underlay out of it to save stitches, because they just want to get it done. They feel like they can stabilize it a different way, and I don't blame them. I get it, but when it doesn't turn out right, you know, who's liable?
Yeah. Time to throw the hammer down.
Yeah, so then, you know, I'd help with getting the files to the right vendors, you know, all around the world, so we can try to nip that in the bud. But, you know, you can always tell too, because the vendors they would scan it in with not good resolution versus scanning it in at a high resolution. I mean, they're just like children. They're gonna get away with whatever they can.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I think that's the whole battle between manufacturer and client. You know,
it's a game.
We want more out of it. We don't care how it's done necessarily or what it takes to get there. We just want it done. And then, you know, manufacturers, they have other things that they have to deal with, you know, that they need to streamline. But I think that's the thing. Not that any of us are going to be doing this 100%. Now, we would love to do it 100%, but the bread and butter, again, is still the basic embroidery, but finding that partner that is open to trying new things, that wants to, because if you're helping, let's say your embroidery shop, if you're helping your embroidery shop learn some of these new techniques, they're going to be able to sell that to other customers. Yeah. So there really is a win-win if you can nail it down. But I think there's so much fear, and our industry is just in time, quick turn type of thing. You know, you might not be able to do it overnight, but like starting with changing the thread and then going from there, and, you know, trying the wash away backing or trying the wash away felt, and really working your way towards it. Obviously, we're trying to show you the coolest things that are out there that are not in our industry on a grand scale, and we're really wanting to just spark that ideas. We want to work with embroidery shops, we want to work with distributors to just try something new and fresh instead of the same old, you know. Not the innovation's already done, so you're not reinventing anything. You're just adapting to what other parts of the world have been doing for decades. And so that's what I love, that there's so much opportunity in our space to level up the embroidery. All embroidery is not created equal, and we're here to show you that.
Yep, exactly. And to segue into our next garment here, you remember our good buddy Mr. Blake Kuhn? Yeah, who did some really cool artwork here for us. He has partnered up with a really good guy. His name is Jason Beardsley, and they've started their own design firm together. And this is this next piece here I'm going to show you is a brainchild from a previous arts endeavor that they were part of called the Underground Movement, and it was a lot of revolutionary American history basically turned into some of the artwork and techniques that Blake and I had executed while we were at Abercrombie.
Nice.
This was this particular Green Dragon Tavern. The origin, if for those who don't know American history, the Green Dragon Tavern was established in 1654 in Boston, and it played a very important part in the freedom of Boston during the Revolutionary War. So this was basically a favorite haunt of Paul Revere, and I think John Hancock's brother lived next door to the Green Dragon Tavern. So basically the entire Boston Tea Party was planned within the Green Dragon Tavern. This is where they came.
Oh wow!
To plan all this out, and so it was a very, very famous location. So this particular garment reflects the old sign that has the dragon, screen printed here in the background as this first layer.
Okay. As
well as what we did here with the green was a faux chain stitch in sewing thread, just bright orange sewing thread. And the 1766 was a whip stitch, again, sewing thread in the gray stitch, and of course the
I love
the
that
main,
jagged look.
Oh, it's just so great. That's irregular edges with irregular density is what allows that to look so hand stitched.
Love it.
But still with the speed and accuracy of a machine. And then of course the dragon and the tavern, which is amazing, single layer, and it just goes to show you how cool it looks with just one layer of applique. You can do multiple layers if you'd like, but once you add all this stuff up in one hooping, that's a lot of work.
And then you already have the screen print behind it, so that adds another level of intricacy.
Yeah. Exactly. And then of course we have in a slightly different pose here, you'll see that this is what it was like after the wash, and there was some sleeve graphics as well, and this is a zigzag stitch holding this particular screen printed cotton twill patch onto the sleeve, which is just you do it because you can.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a part of it. I mean, it's such a creative industry, but I think the guidelines of what we have to deal with on a normal basis, it doesn't allow for creativity. We just try to push it through, and we keep processes over the potential for a garment.
Yep.
A lot of the ERP systems or dat order entry systems in our industry, it doesn't allow for creativity. It only allows for data pushing. And so I think that's what the balance, and not that everyone has to do it for every customer, because that takes a lot of labor of developing. But for those certain clients that have the volume, that have the budget, that give you the time, doing these type of pieces for them, you keep them around forever. Because if you're just doing their logo on a left chest polo, they can go elsewhere and get that, and maybe for cheaper someday. But when you give them a piece that is thought through, that's developed, that is taking the time to just take the creativity up another notch, dude, you're gonna be pulling them in and getting your claws in and ruining them for any other vendor that they might talk to, because they're not gonna know how or even give them these options. They're just gonna give them cookie cutter catalog options, and that is not us. And we're here to push you outside of the box a little bit.
Right, exactly. So it's so much fun to create these looks and to birth something that just was nothing more than maybe a sketch at one point. It's just so much fun to see it come to life.
Love it, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Again, that never necessarily goes out of style when you have these worn in vintage looks, Americana, historical inspiration. I mean, that's going to be classic for decades and decades to come. depending on how long the garment lasts.
Absolutely.
That's the only
Yeah.
caveat.
In fact, I had recently reached out to Jason and I asked him, is there any chance, you have this garment still so I can buy it from you or whatever? Because I would love to have this, in my closet just to show people, because it encompasses everything in one garment.
It's nice, man. Well, yeah, thanks for showing that, Joe. In future episodes, we're going to do that whole thing of process of ideation to sketching to vector to development to digitizing and then ultimately into producing that. So be on the lookout for future episodes, because we want to connect those dots of, let's say, distributors. They might have the front end and the client work to make it happen, but then they might not have the back end help in the embroidery department to make it come to life. So we want to kind of show that whole process so it helps our audience that are embroidery shops that might only receive artwork. They don't have an in-house art department. And how can we all work together, to bring that from concept to actual product? So be on the lookout for that in the future.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And then if you don't have an in-house design team, we do know one.
Yes.
And a link in the description. We can definitely help you out. We have very affordable packages for you.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yes.
Awesome, Joe. And one of our segments, Stitch Count Contessa, we posted in episode 3 of the new piece, but we only got a couple submissions, so we're going to open that up for another week to let the audience guess how many stitches are in this big giant lion patch that we're going to show you again.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and roll that right now. We're back. So, man, 8.5 by 11 and that many stitches. Man, that's tough. That's tough because there's a lot of overlapping stitches in that file.
Yeah.
A lot of tight stitches too. In fact, some of it I thought was a piece of woven material when I first saw the image, but it's actually the entire thing is fill. Oh, I'd say it's the entire back part of it is fill stitches, and then of course decorative on top of that. So that's going to be tough.
And whoever gets the closest, again, we're going to hook them up with some of our custom branded headwear that comes blank with no front decoration, so you can decorate it yourself and show us what you can create out of it. So good luck to next week's submissions.
Absolutely. Good luck, everybody. Can't wait to see.
All right. Episode 4 in the books. Thank you all for sticking around and nerding out with us of all things embroidery and applique and embroidery culture. And we're really loving these episodes. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Once again, we got Jeremy Picker with AMB3R Creative, CEO and creative director, alongside myself. So that's Joe Kramer, and that's AMB3R Creative. So we're gonna put our deets here in the details. Be sure to like and subscribe. Yep. We're gonna go ahead for now, sign off, say stitch on, and fashion to the people.